Streaming from Oklahoma's own digital studio, this is TU Football Update, brought to you by Brahms. Here's Jeremie Poplin.
Hey everyone, and welcome in. It's another University of Tulsa podcast here on Oklahoma's Own Sports. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and continue to keep up that momentum. Tell people about this if you like the coverage from Oklahoma's Own Sports, which includes Tulsa, Oklahoma City Thunder, Oklahoma State Cowboys, the OU Sooners, and a lot of different high school products as well, and continuing to add more and more and more. We really appreciate you, for those of you that have subscribed. And if you haven't, what is wrong with you? Subscribe now, please. Please, pretty please. Please subscribe. Okay, so Tulsa has homecoming this weekend. It's been a little bit of a, letdown with the weather that's coming in. So they've moved all the high school games, the majority of them, to Thursday night on both sides of the state. They've moved some of the festivities indoors over at the Reynolds Center. Not great, right? Considering the fact that you haven't quite had the season that you have wanted so far, sitting here with 2 wins. But you feel like that typically homecoming is one of those that has the opportunity to pick up a little bit of momentum from a crowd, from an energy perspective. And now with the weather moving in, just kind of a letdown. They're going to try to do their best with everything that they can do. Bonfire, as of now, is still scheduled to try to continue. I don't know how you get that thing lit with the amount of rain that they're talking about that we're going to have. Probably a whole lot of kerosene. Of course, that's just me just guessing. I don't know if they're going to walk over there the way, that some members of my family used to do and just flick a cigarette butt in there at all. Tulsa's way classier than that, especially my family, and they will not do that. But you get my point that just kind of a weird feel now with the rain, and I hope that will not impact the crowd, even though I know that it's going to. As of right now, Station Knight, one of the Oklahoma weather experts here at News on 6, has said that the rain is expected to try to maybe start moving out of here around the time the kickoff happens. The problem is, though, that there's an opportunity for another system from the south to move back into the area. Now, the likelihood of that, don't really know right now. We can play through rain. What I'm worried about is if there's lightning that's happening and how this rain is going to impact this game coming up on Saturday. We've got a lot to get to, including some comments from Tre Lamb. I'm also going to clip out some of the audio from Tre Lamb on the coaches show from Monday night, because there was a moment in the coaches show where I felt like that you got more of a peek behind the curtain than, I don't want to say than any head coach, but more of a peek behind the curtain publicly from a head coach at Tulsa that I can remember, and that was with what Tre's comments were to Micah Tease after the 2 big drops in the first half against ECU that could have been a complete game changer for the Tulsa offense and for the team, and how you handle that situation. He talked in the postgame about continuing to love on him and make him feel embraced, because that's what you do in that moment. Someone that's down, you got to try to lift them back up. But it was a candid conversation from Tre Lamb that I definitely want you to hear, that he shared with Bruce and with the audience. So let's get overall to the overall assessment from last week, and that is basically it's the worst defensive game of the season for Tulsa. That's just, it is what it is at this point. Almost 300 yards on the ground, 300 yards through the air. It was not great by any means. ECU averaged over 5 yards per carry. It was a slow start offensively. I think, though, that the main key that you'll hear from Tre Lamb in this is that Tulsa's at a level right now where they don't feel like that they have, one, the playmakers to overcome negative plays that impact the game in specific moments. Overall, collectively, that's where the margins are at. You'll hear Coach Lamb talk about the margins a lot, especially in year number 1. And Tulsa, to his words and statement that you've heard over and over again, is we're just not there yet. They keep throwing that yet in there. Who knows whether that starts to turn around towards the end of the season with some confidence. Who knows whether or not that's a next year thing, but they're in win mode now category. They've got to win and win now to the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, and hopefully they can do that with tempo. So here's a few comments from Tre Lamb, the head football coach at Tulsa, after the Monday press conference, and then we'll get into what Coach Keeler, the head coach at Temple, had to say about Tulsa, and he brought up an interesting point that I hadn't necessarily thought about yet, but I think it makes a lot of sense. So here's Tre Lamb from Monday.
I thought their quarterback had their best game. We did not affect him at all. They were able to run the ball, throw the ball, so probably our worst game defensively by far. Offensively, slow start, really with the throwing and catching gate. I don't really know what that was in the first quarter, but Baylor struggled to hit easy passes, and we dropped several balls in the first half that really cost us. We had 400 yards of offense, and Coach Robinson on the plane home. If we just throw and catch open passes, we left over 200 yards out there. So it could have been a big night offensively. We don't seem to play together very well at times. If the defense has a great game or a great quarter, the offense sputters. If the offense is having a good drive or they score, we seem to give up an immediate score, and it's happened all year. Our guys are fighting. They're believing. I think the big thing we have right now is we don't have a ton of margin for error against good teams, and that's what I told them after the game. Like, one drop is a big deal. One missed pass is a big deal. One turnover is a big deal. Getting the ball thrown over your head for one touchdown is a big deal, and right now we're not good enough to overcome those mistakes, and our margin for error is very thin. I think as we keep recruiting and developing this roster and developing these young players moving forward into next year and the year after that, I think we will have some room for error, some margin for error that good teams have. But right now, we're not talented enough to be able to do that. And they were able to run the ball at will, and we really were not able to run the ball with Dom very well. They won the lines of scrimmage. Again, they didn't turn the ball over, didn't make many mistakes. I'm very proud of our discipline. We're 11th in the country in penalties, so we're playing smart. We're not beating ourselves. But there's a lot of physical errors out there, and I think everybody can see that. You can't start a game going 3 and out, 6 and out when you're just dropping balls and missing open players. And then defensively, absolutely did not stop the run, and the quarterback was comfortable all day. I thought he played his best game of the year. But looking forward to Temple, man. They got a good ball club. Coach Keeler does a great job. Another FCS coach that they've hired there, and I got a lot of respect for him. He's a great coach, really good coach, and he's won everywhere he's been, and it'll be no different at Temple. I think they're having a good season. Another senior quarterback, an older guy that we're playing against, seems to be, 6 weeks in a row now we've played an older quarterback, and it's just kind of been one of those years where we're catching that. But I have full faith in our team. I have full faith in our practice habits and the way we're growing our culture and competing. I think we got to have a few games here down the stretch where we're not making quite as many mistakes, and that's coaching and playing. I got to be better. We're evaluating everything, which players can help us, who's ready to make plays, why are we not making plays in critical moments. Those are all my jobs to evaluate. The ball, he was saying the ball was wet. So at the first quarter break, I went and grabbed the footballs, and they were not wet. The field was damp, and Baylor's never played on a grass field. So growing up in Nashville, all the fields in Nashville, in that Williamson County area, are turf, and we practice on turf. Now, we practice on grass in the preseason, but it was damp on their field. It's humid, and I could see how the ball could potentially be wet. But you go back and look at the tape, I think he was just timid, short-arming it a little bit. Not stepping into his throws. I think it was a fundamental issue. But we've scored on our first drives like 5 of 7 games. So I don't know. We went 3 and out, and the plays were there. Like, it wasn't like it was scheme. Like, we had them. That's the best game I've called maybe in my career. Like, we were on point. We had them where we wanted them. We had the throws. We had what we needed. We just didn't execute. And I got to figure that out. Maybe he ate something different. Maybe he slept weird. I don't know. There's a lot of factors that go into that. But at the end of the day, he's got to throw it, and they got to catch it. Like, they got to help him out. We can't drop a hitch. Our senior running back, BP, we get him in space on a hitch round. He drops it. Micah Tease drops 2 big balls. And then, you're trying to throw and catch to get him going. And then, all right, then what do you turn to? Okay, let's throw it deep. Give him one guy to throw it to and throw it deep. So I think we'll try to get him in rhythm a little quicker this week. Potentially get him hit early, maybe let him run a little bit early. He seems to, I thought second half he played terrific and he settled in, but we got to get him settled in quicker. That's something I got to talk about with him. That's the first time that's happened.
By the end of the game, it was your most productive game against a Division I school this year. Did it feel that way to you offensively? Did it feel like you had made progress by the time it was over?
I thought we had a really good plan offensively. I thought 27 points against that crowd is a pretty good game. They're giving up 14 a game. I thought we'd need to win the game 24-21, where we're at right now. And if Micah catches those two and we throw and catch early and don't get the holding penalty, like you're looking at 600 yards of offense and against a good group. So I thought that was our best game for sure. Unfortunately, it was our worst game defensively. Yeah, I feel like every day we play, nothing's easy. It's like pulling teeth. Nothing's easy right now. We're just not there yet, talent-wise, and we'll get there. We got to coach better. We got some of our best players that did not play well the other night on offense or defense. That's on coaching. So we got to be able to get more confidence involved in our players. But every Saturday, any given Saturday, anybody can beat anybody. And I think Halloween already. I think there's no doubt that we can win the rest of our games. I have no doubt about it. I think if we go play well on Saturday and we don't make mistakes, we're going to have a great chance to win that game in the second half. And I thought that was the same case last week. And if we play better and stop the run and don't drop the ball and throw and catch, it was still a 7-point game in the fourth quarter, and we played awful. Like, how do I get these guys to play better? That's my job. We got what we got right now. How do I get them to play better,
How do you mentioned earlier they don't seem to play well off of each other at times.
Yeah.
Like, what's that process like?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we go our defense is playing great in the first quarter. They hold them to 3 points, pretty explosive offense, and we run 3 and out, 6 and out. Like, what if we score right there and Baylor plays well and we catch the ball? Like, we could have taken a 10-3 lead in the first quarter. Like, that's a very different start than being down 10-0. And you can think back to other games like Navy. Our defense is struggling. They're running the ball pretty good, and then offensively we score bam, 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 and then all of a sudden we go to sleep. We just don't play. You look at New Mexico State. We finally start scoring in the second half. Baylor comes in. We get touchdown. Very next drive, defense gives up a score. We get another touchdown. Very next drive, defense gives up a score. It's like we can't complement off each other right now. Maybe it's play calling. Maybe it's strategy, something that Josh and I have talked about. Like, hey, when I want you to be aggressive, when I want you to zero blitz, when I want you to try to get me the ball back, when do I want you to play bend but don't break? And that's on us. I got to get that better, but also the players got to execute the calls.
But how much of that also is the process of learning how to win? Does that play a percentage in it?
I think there's no question. I can't stand when coaches say our guys are competing, they're playing hard. That means you're losing. I can't stand when coaches say, we got to learn how to win. That means you're losing. At some point, we got to take the bull by the horns, and somebody's going to make a freaking play. And you got to catch the ball when it's thrown to you. You got to throw the ball when I call the right play. You got to block the guy in front of you, not fall down on an inside zone play. Like, I can't help you there. Like that, we got to be able to do that. If we don't, we're not going to win.
All right, so there's some of the comments from head coach Tre Lamb. Now let's play those comments from the radio. Like I said, pulling back the curtain here, I think this is probably one of the best moments for that we've had in quite some time, with the head coach just being completely upfront and honest, not withholding any words, and giving you a peek behind the curtain at what happens in conversations with players. Here's what Tre Lamb had to say about Micah Tease.
I had a conversation with him last week about the way you act off the field and the way you behave as a player off the field is going to reflect how you play on Saturdays. And he has grown up a lot this season. He started off, not going to class, not doing what he's supposed to off the field. We suspended him for a game, and he's bounced back in the right way. But sometimes it's too late. Like I told Micah, you got to get your life in order, man. You're a 4-star recruit. You're a local kid. Like, this is your last spot. We need you to step up and make some big-time plays for us. I look forward to seeing him this week and see how he performs in practice, see how he responds. I think response is a big thing for a young player. You also forget he's 19 years old.
Yeah.
We all made dumb mistakes at 19. But he has to behave like a champion before he plays like a champion. And that was my message to him after the game.
Yeah, and it's not like you're saying this is your last chance, but this is such a huge chance in your life, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's got 4 years left here. I want to see this player grow up and make some plays for us and get a degree and do what he's supposed to do. He has been a lot better later in the season, and he was crying in my office during the off week because I laid it out for him. I said, hey, man, like, this is your last opportunity. This is your shot. And he was in tears, and he doesn't want to make the mistakes he's making, but he's going to play better. He's going to grow up. He's young. We got several guys on our team that need to grow up and play better. He's one of them. Elijah Green needs to play better, and I know he's got all these interceptions, but people don't see he got beat on a double move that cost us 7 points. And Nunu Campbell, who's had a great year, gets beat on a post ball. Like, we had some guys really make some critical mistakes Thursday night, and we cannot have that if we want to win.
Interesting comments there from Tre Lamb about conversations that he had with Micah Tease and moving forward, and hopefully now you can start to see some of that grasp a hold or take a hold inside of, not just with Micah, but inside of the entire locker room. Okay, Temple, the challenges that they present. I told you a little bit earlier that Coach Keeler made a comment that he has used repeatedly with his team, and I think it applies to Tulsa. And this is what he said. I'm paraphrasing here, and then I'll play the clip for you, which is, is Tulsa at a position now with the way that they played, the schedule that they played, do they just not know how good they actually are? And can that apply to Tulsa?
Yeah, I mean, Navy kind of skews everything when you play a Navy team. And then you have like a physical team like Tulane, who just a real physical group. They can just run the ball at you. So I think part of it's their schedule. I think they don't know how good they are. You know, I mean, like, I know, just like I said earlier, I talked about to our kids, like, this is a good team. I don't think our kids knew how good they were. And you know, part of it is getting in their brains that they are a good team. And so you practice like you're a good team. It's amazing. If you don't think you're a good team, that's how you practice. If you think you're a good team, then that's how you practice. So a lot of it is that psychological stuff. I remember my first year at Sam Houston, we started off 1-3. And I kept on telling the locker room, I was like, don't panic. We're going to be okay. It's here. We just, these are the things we need to do. I would kind of give them a checklist of things we got to do. That team ended up third in the country. You know, just we got that win and we kind of caught fire. I feel the same way with these guys. I feel like they just starting to figure out, you know, that we are a good team. And I think that's what showed when we played Charlotte. When we played them, I think it finally came out that we're a good football team. Even though we lost to Navy, I think we felt we were the better team. And I think that we felt there was an opportunity missed. And instead of dwelling on it, it was like, oh, that's good. That's good for Temple. That we're a good football team, and they've taken that and we've moved forward. So,
but is that where Tulsa's at right now? It's an interesting comment from Coach Keeler, and then what he sees from them when he flipped on the tape.
Wish when I looked at the tape of Tulsa, they weren't as good as they are. Tough schedule. I think Navy, East Carolina, Memphis, where some of the losses have a win over Oklahoma State. You know, I thought they've played, you know, aggressive. Kids have a lot of passion. It's their homecoming game. So it's going to be a very similar situation where we have to go into a homecoming environment and we have to make sure we're focused and we have to make sure that we bring our intensity and we make sure we have to be locked in. You know, it's a great opportunity for us. So, yeah, I mean, the good thing is when you put the tape on, you can see that they've done some really good things at times. It's just they have played a pretty tough schedule. So, again, we know what we're walking into in terms of, you know, Tulsa.
It's time to enjoy the sweet taste of Brahms Strawberry Shortcake Sundae. Our creamy vanilla ice cream is nestled on top of Brahms fresh-baked golden bundt cakes with spoonfuls of delicious strawberry topping all around, complete with fluffy whipped cream and a cherry to create the perfect flavor combination. Strawberry goodness is waiting for you at Brahms.
There will be a player on the field in Alan Haye who the last time that he was at Tulsa suffered something that no athlete wants to suffer, and that is an absolutely gruesome leg injury that had him carted off of the field that required multiple months of rehab, learning how to walk again, all the things that we take for granted, simple things like going to the restroom. It was truly horrific. But he had a nice words of praise for the Tulsa crowd and the way that they embraced him after he went down on the field and what it was like to get back to a point to be able to play. He's one of their better players. He's wearing a single-digit number now because they hand those out to their better players. Defensive lineman has that in Alan Hayes. And so Alan Haye, that he's playing probably his best football as of right now since the injury, but that's not to take away from the road to recovery that he had to go down. Here's what his comments were from a press conference earlier, and also what will it be like walking back into the stadium in Tulsa where that injury occurred?
When I did get that injury back in Tulsa, like, they fans and everything took care of me. Like, they were supportive and stuff like that. But it is, like, it's fun to know that I'm going back to the same environment, the same place where, you know, I took a little pause in my career and stuff like that. But it is definitely, it's a good feeling to get back there.
What do you think it'll be like to kind of walk back in that stadium? Nervous energy or anything like that?
Nah, it's definitely gonna be exciting for sure. Like, when I went in that game, I was having a day, you know, and then sadly I got hurt, but you know, I was having a day, and I'm expecting to have another day, so I'm not nervous or nothing. I'm very excited.
All right, hey, thank you for tuning in here. Tulsa Update, brought to you by our good friends at Brahms. Always appreciate it. Remember, hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time as we get set for Temple and Tulsa coming up in a rainy Saturday afternoon here in the state of Oklahoma.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma's own digital studio stream. Stay with News on 6 online and on television anytime for the latest news, weather, and sports.